back. The official LAMH podcast. We're here again. It's episode 7 we're on to now. And as the host, I'm going to practice my delegation skills. I'm going to hand you over to Lucy, who's going to start by giving the listeners an outline of what today's episode is going to entail.
Yeah, so I'm honoured to do so. So, of course, when discussing with our colleagues what we thought was the best theme for this episode, we thought we would talk about mental health in the workplace. You know, a big factor in this being how we're balancing our time that we have at work with the things that we have to do, the activities that we like to do, and then what we really want to do.
I think this has came at a really appropriate time, because I know especially stuff in our office is kind of picked up in terms of workload. So mental health in the workspace is definitely something that's on the forefront of all of our minds right now. But yeah, we are aware that this idea of a work-life balance, it doesn't resonate with everyone. People listening to this podcast might not currently be in work and or looking for support in finding employment. So hopefully this is where today's guests can come in to help.
Yeah, so we're doing things a wee bit differently today. So we're not joined in the studio by our guest today, but instead our very own Jamie has convinced me to release him into the public, let him out and about and do some field work. So stay tuned to hear what he got up to.
And I promise you I behaved myself very professional. Before we do start talking today, I do want to address the positive feedback we've had regarding our animated lookalikes that have been accompanying our posts on social media. And yeah, so now we've got that bug. Keep an eye out for what characters myself and Lucy transform into next. That's been good fun.
And once again, if you're not following us on Instagram and Facebook already, then make that your top priority for today.
Nice, good plug. So right, mental health in the workplace now. And as Lucy said, this is something that's came up time and time again. You know, we can all face pressures at work, regardless of our age, experience or job titles. And sometimes that pressure can either motivate us and maybe make us more productive, although too much pressure can actually become stressful and affect our happiness or well-being, and that's what kind of contributes to feeling physically and mentally unwell. And I know personally I think I resonate more with the latter. I do not feel more productive when overwhelmed with stress.
Yeah, I think that's it. When you're experiencing stress in the workplace, you sometimes notice like the change in the way that you work. So sometimes your thoughts and feelings are affecting you. I know with myself that I think I thrive under pressure. I probably don't, and probably yourself working in the office with me will say that.
That's how diamonds are made.
I don't know about that. But these changes, they make it harder to be productive sometimes, and they can negatively impact your behaviour and even how you come across to other people, and as well as that, your quality of work. So that leads to even more frustration, unhelpful thoughts or feelings, and then potentially having that, you know, thing we were trying to avoid, that burnout. You know, you're trying to do so much and push yourself to a point that just isn't feasible, and we end up in this kind of state of not just physical but emotional exhaustion.
Yeah, it's very much a kind of unique process, I suppose. Everybody's kind of different in the way that they handle stress and that they cope with it. Things we've spoke about in the podcast up until now. What do you notice in yourself when you start to feel a bit overwhelmed, and what do you do to help recharge?
With that, yeah. I think in work, and again, like you listening to yourself, I usually kind of go to this almost like laughing state where I just have to like run around the office getting things done, and I'll annoyingly enough take up 3 tables with my different tasks on them. So I'll notice once I start doing that, I'm getting overwhelmed. But when I can't switch off after work, that's when I know it's kind of went too far, because I'm quite good at that usually.
Yeah.
When that happens, my kind of go-to is to go to the gym or go a walk, or even just FaceTime my mum.
Yeah, I think separating the work life from the kind of personal life can be quite difficult sometimes, and leaving the work in work. Again, that's different depending on what job it is that you're doing, but that's such an important factor in finding that balance.
I know, definitely. What about you?
Well, I think I'm kind of similar in terms of the kind of exercise side of things, but mine's is like a double-edged sword, because like my exercise is my relaxation, so to speak, but if I do too much of that, then that leads to burnout. So that's something I'm kind of consciously aware of in terms of, yes, finding the time for me to unwind, give myself a kind of different focus, but also to kind of keep on top of things to make sure I'm not burning myself out with that as well.
Overexhausting yourself.
Yes.
Maybe that's a challenge me and you can work on together. Probably not.
Sure, let's give it a go. So I think first of all, it's all about, you know, specifically being able to bring your awareness to one thing that you're finding stressful. You know, what is it that's causing you stress? Do you have maybe too many responsibilities? Are you taking on too many tasks? Is there just kind of not enough time in the day for you? Is there a lot of change, a lot of uncertainty? You know, are you finding relationships with your co-workers difficult? You know, understanding and pinpointing those specific stressors can really help you work out what to do next by giving you that sense and that shift of focus.
Yeah, I think it's that way of understanding what you actually do have the kind of control over and what you maybe just have to accept. I think in work, you know, maybe too much being put in your plate, or there's been changes in your work. but it's not something we can change a lot of the time, because that's just the way things are going right now. But again, it's maybe then looking at, right, how do I accept that this is the truth for me right now, and how do I move on from that?
How do you kind of navigate that? And I think we spoke about the words kind of change there, and control, and I think that a lot of kind of stress and feeling overwhelmed is because we're not in control of everything. I think especially, you know, when we're sitting and we're doing work and our boss maybe puts like an extra case of files or paperwork onto your desk, and
I'm sorry.
Yeah. You hint there. Yeah, I think when you initially see that, you think, oh geez, well, this is all I need, kind of more work. But again, as you're saying, it's looking at it, it's almost kind of taking that bit of time for you to look at, okay, this is what I'm dealing with just now, rather than pretending that that's not just happened. How can I look at starting to navigate this and breaking that down?
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, what do you have control over as well? So like your lunchtime or like after work, like we're saying, of really taking that time to, and I'm going to put you in here, that kind of sharpening your axe. It's like that story that I'll let you tell. It's like a really good way of looking at things though, like to understand what you need to do in order for you to, you know, maybe be where you want to be in work and to feel that bit better about it. So if you want to, you can tell us that wee story.
Okay. No, this is actually one of my favourite wee stories, so I'll try not to kind of drag out for too long. But yeah, basically, it's a story that we've done in our mindfulness courses. It's about two brothers who are woodcutters. They chop down trees, and they have a competition to see who can chop down the most trees over the course of the day. And they start chopping away, and the younger brother starts to feel quite tired. And just as he's about to stop, he actually doesn't hear anything coming from his older brother, and he's stopped chopping the trees down. So the younger brother thinks, okay, this is a chance here to get in the lead and get a head start on things. And after 10-15 minutes, the older brother starts chopping again. And this happens a couple of times over the course of the day. And at the end, they look to count to see who's chopped down the most trees, and it's the older brother that's chopped down the most trees, and the younger brother doesn't understand why. He says, you know, you kept stopping and I kept going, so how can you have chopped down most trees? And the older brother goes, that's because when I stopped, I had sharpened my axe. And that's a mic drop.
Thank you. But no, it's a good story, isn't it, of like understanding that if you actually take time for yourself and stop for a moment, you're actually going to be able to do more, because you're not pushing yourself to that point of complete burnout. So it's a really good way of taking control of things. You're
not seeing that bit of, we'll call it kind of self-care, because that was what the older brother needed to do the best job he could. So we're not kind of looking at it as we're doing self-care instead of doing something else. We're seeing that as taking that sense of recharge so that we are then able to do that next job to the best of our ability, so that frustration and things don't build up for not doing a job as well as we could have done, like you'd said earlier.
It's just kind of noticing like our body and our minds though, isn't it, as well, of going, right, okay, I'm starting to get those heart palpitations, or I'm starting to, you know, get butterflies, and going, right, that's my kind of wake up, isn't it?
Because the first thing we want to do when we feel that is, again, we judge them to be bad, those feelings, and we want to get rid of them and pretend that they're not there.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the thing. I think when we start noticing all these things that are happening, we can start to look at the point that we're uncomfortable, we're not in any kind of form of danger, and it allows you to look at it differently. And I think that's where we can then start to look at this kind of stress and anxiety at work and how we can work in that. That's
where the kind of the noticing, the importance of the noticing, is so effective, because it's not until that moment that we're then able to intervene and attempt to manage those symptoms at the kind of first point of being aware of them. You know, noticing those kind of alarm bells ringing, and before it gets to kind of severe stages of panic, it's not about kind of trying to stop those symptoms, but trying to manage them instead. And so whether it be, you know, shifting your focus to something like your breathing, because when you start, those alarm bells go and we start to worry, our mind just starts to wander, potentially to kind of really unhelpful thought patterns of, you know, feeling the worst of the future, or thinking back to previous mistakes that we've made. So, you know, shifting your focus back into that present moment, for example, your breathing that we spoke about, you know, it doesn't take long, you know, sitting with your breath, you know, putting your hand in your abdomen and feeling that sensation of the breath, breathing it through your stomach. Notice your stomach expanding with the in-breath, filling with the air, and then returning to the normal as you breathe out. And we're doing it every day, you know, breathing. We just maybe don't know we're doing it until we bring our focus. But, you know, this type of breathing, it can really help bring your heart rate back down to normal. You know, we can really start to feel really calming and help in situations that are causing the stress. And yeah, I think the breath is one of those things that's a constant. It's always there for us, and it's a nice kind of grounding point to bring us back into that present moment.
Yeah, I think it's a really easy way of kind of breaking that, like that cycle that you're talking about of we're thinking about something, then we feel something, then our heart rate goes up and so on and so forth. I think it's a really good way of literally just stopping everything and focusing on your breath as you're breathing, just saying to yourself, I can feel myself breathing in, I can feel myself breathing out. And it is, amazing when we start doing that and we see the difference that makes for us in breaking that thought pattern that we're having. But even that like practical base, as we've said in previous episodes, there's not one right way to manage stress. There may be ways that we've mentioned in previous episodes or things that we're talking about right now that really suits you. But, it may be something that's completely different from, your pal across the roads and that.
Yeah, and we spoke about how we've got quite similar focuses of exercise, Yes, we spoke about kind of breathing there, but it's bringing your focus to whatever you're doing in that moment. So if you are exercising, if you are reading a book, if you're watching a movie, if you're making a cup of tea, or if you are just kind of breathing or going a walk, to list a few, making sure you're mentally with those activities as well. And then when you do leave the workspace, physically you're outside of work, but mentally are you also outside of work as well? Because if those two kind of misalign, that kind of maybe sets us on edge going into sleep that night, and maybe we don't get the best sleep because our minds are racing about what could happen tomorrow, and then we go back into work the next day, and it's almost as if that kind of vicious cycle's still going.
Yeah, it's like in your mind you've not really been outside of work, isn't it? It's like, I was thinking about it all last night, so I'm just physically here again the next day.
And what we're going to do here is to help give some other sense of perspectives to balancing mental health in the workplace. Take a wee listen now to how some of our colleagues in the office and in LAMH experience recognising and managing their stress in the workplace.
I look to utilise the gym before work so that it sets me up for the day, and I use going walks with the dog, so I take a long walk after work with the dog so that it kind of de-stresses me for the day. And I like to use one of my kind of biggest coping strategies is watching an interesting TV programme, because it lets me forget about the day. It lets me kind of recharge for the next one.
So my idea of de-stressing after work is to, when it's dry, go out into the garden and see birds, listen to the birds. Hopefully it's sunny, and just sit and be myself for 5 minutes.
When I get stressed at work, I love mindfulness, so if I start to notice that my stomach's churning, my shoulders are rising, so what I'll generally do is I'll remove myself from my desk right away, and I'll go and do a wee 3-minute breathing space, and that's basically where I'll just sit and notice what's going on with me, and just accept how I'm being, sit with my breath. And then that just gives me that wee couple of minutes to then go, do you know what, feeling a bit better, back to it. But to be honest, I can do that quite a few times in the one day. When I get home in the evening, my first thing I'll do is get my dogs and go a walk to the park. And it's quite ironic because I totally cannot be doing my walking with my dogs, and I dread it. But the minute I hit that park, I like to touch the trees and the leaves and, really feel my feet against the grass. If it's a nice day, I'll take my shoes off and do a bit of grounding and actually have fun with the dogs over and above everything.
So hopefully that wee insight gave you some ideas of ways to recognise, stressful situations, manage them in the moment and taking some space from them before allowing for a recharge, before getting to sleep at night, really switching off before we're going to sleep. So now on to a bit of gallivanting that we spoke about earlier on.
Yay.
So Jamie, where did you go and why?
So I was still working, Lucy, don't worry, I was out and about. I actually visited Routes to Work in South Lanarkshire. I met up with Julia and Jackie, who work there and offered employability support throughout South Lanarkshire. I'm not going to speak too much about it because they go into it in very great detail, really informative stuff. But yeah, they give it a wee shout out to another programme that are running as well called the Win Project. So have a wee listen to this, and yeah, we're going to discuss it afterwards in terms of the work that they're doing. So I'm here with Julia and Jackie from Routes to Work South. Can you tell me a bit about the kind of work that you are doing in terms of employability support?
Yeah, absolutely. So Jackie and myself are the community wellbeing advisors for the WIN project at Roots to Work South. WIN is what I need in life. Our goal and our job is to support those that are furthest removed from being ready for employment and help people along the journeys to get to a better mindset and space to either look for that or further education or training or whatever it might be. So people that we support are facing various challenges or backgrounds, could include mental health issues, addiction, physical health problems, lack of work experience, isolation, things like that. So we're to support clients by working with external organisations, by putting things into place to help people on their way.
A lot of what we do is people that might have short-term or long-term challenges. So we don't differentiate. Somebody could come to us and it maybe only needs a few weeks of sort of pointing in the right direction, a little bit of, light at the end of the tunnel for some people. Others, it's been a longer process and it's been even longer since they've been in employment or even thought about what they can do. So our job is really to sort of help break down things into manageable chunks and sort of give options that haven't previously been considered.
Yeah, and how long would you work with somebody for?
Each person is different. So we have some people it might only be a couple of months, other people it can be up to about a year. We're led very much by the person and their journey. So they'll tell us, I think I'm ready now. And if we agree, we then move them up to our other programmes, which are very specific about setting up interviews and really pushing to get the dream job. We're the stage before sort of getting ready so that if the dream job comes along, they're ready to accept it.
Yeah.
And they're in a good place.
Yeah, that one project that you mentioned earlier on, I know initially that was getting rolled out in Rutherglen and Blantyre areas. Is that still the case? Is that still
Rutherglen and Blantyre as it stands at the moment? Anybody over the age of 18 that's not in employment and is just looking for that bit of extra support and help. As Jackie says, it's not a one shoe fits all. Everybody's journey is different. We're extremely person centred. I think that's something that we really pride ourselves on, is that we are led by the needs of each individual client. We're not sat there saying, you're going to go do X, Y, and Z. We're putting options out to people and it's up to them if they want to accept it, if they think that's going to be of use to them.
It's very much, we're empowering people to get skills, which then mean throughout their life, they've got that there and they can tap into it any time they need. Well, it's about that feeling that I can do this, or there is people that I can turn to that can help me. So no matter what the situation they come across, because there will be different challenges, they've got that extra power reserve, that resilience that they've learned to build up and coping strategies. I think that's one of the key things, that suddenly things aren't quite as bleak as what they seemed initially.
Kind of holistic approach you take to things.
Absolutely. And then when they do get to that stage, when they're ready, like, no, I'm good, I wanted to start finding a job, we have other incredible teams in here, Making It Work for Parents and Gateway, who, as we've said, will focus more on, getting that CV built up to a professional standard. We can look at how to apply for jobs to a professional standard, interview skills, and that one-to-one kind of job search approach to help that person.
And making sure it is the right job fit as well. So it's about something that's going to be a long-term job as just opposed to like a number. Yeah. Going off and saying, well, that's you in a job. There's so much more to it that we offer. It's making sure it is the right fit and it's something that's sustainable for the person.
When they first start that job, to stay in that job for the first wee bit and help with any of those barriers?
We've got a few different teams within Roots to Work South that will do that, and there's up to a year in work support, which can involve liaising with the organisation and the individual to make sure that should there be any hiccups or any challenges, that they know that they're not on their own, to make it work the best for the organisation and for the individual.
And I know I spoke to yourself as well, Julie, in terms of sometimes careers fairs, sometimes when employability services come to Roots to Work and host a careers fair for people to kind of to see who's...
Yeah, they run constantly throughout the year. Different organisations will come to each one, and it's a great chance for clients and the public to come along, to get to speak to different employers, find out what they're kind of recruiting for. The employers always take the time to speak to clients individually and promote what it is. So that's a great opportunity for people to come along to.
We also have a lot of our in-house training where we do accredited courses about like people that haven't been in employment necessarily, and it gives them a taste of what's expected in work, and it starts to build up, you know, for someone that's been out of work for a long time, more current things in their CV, like training courses, self-development. There's such a wide range of what can be offered for the individual.
And how would somebody find out about yourselves? How can somebody almost be referred into your service to work with you?
Variety of different ways. We get a lot of word of mouth. People come along, people coming through the job centres, people looking on our social media pages. Everything that we're doing is promoted through Facebook, Instagram, everything like that. So, you know, word of mouth that way as well.
The doctor's surgeries.
Yeah. A free phone number and an info email address that people can contact directly, and a member of staff would get back to them.
So if people doing that self-referral, they can...
Yeah, people can self-refer as well.
If they're doing a self-referral, we just ask that they mention it is for the WIN project to make sure they come direct to us.
Oh, right, okay, just to kind of specify that in
Yeah.
the process. Brilliant. And I see you've got a wee leaflet there, Jackie. Is that another wee kind of project you've got running?
Exciting news, just hot off the press. So what we our two areas are Rutherglen and Blantyre, and we found that in Blantyre not as many people are familiar with who we are and what we're doing. So this is a brand new opportunity. It's going to be taking place in Blantyre Life over a 5-week period starting on the 10th of July, and it's called Reset. And it's a chance for people just to stop, evaluate where they are, what the challenges are. And we've got, like over the weeks, different things to start that process up, get to where people want to be. So we've got things like confidence and mindset, self-care, budgeting, all different types of support. And it's done from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock once a week in Blantyre Life. It's going to be an exciting opportunity for people to meet us and be a part of the WIN project. So this is just the starting point for their journey with
Oh, okay, so it's going to hand in hand with the WIN project.
Yeah, so we're really excited about this brand new opportunity coming soon. Yeah, we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it's an exciting opportunity for people living in Blantyre to come along, and it means that we've got things that we would normally do with the WIN project, but we're sort of putting it into a whole package. So it's going to be an exciting journey.
Yeah, no, exciting times coming ahead. And I can see it in your faces as well, actually.
Yeah.
It's something you've been working on for a while, and now it's almost like your wee baby.
Yes, it's coming to light now.
The package is all coming together.
Oh, fantastic. How long have you been working with Roots to Work?
So I'm quite new. I only joined in September last year, and came under this opportunity, and I'm so glad I did. Absolutely love it. Helping people and supporting people is something I've always done and always wanted to do. So I was really excited to come on board for this project.
And for myself, I was here from the very initial idea concept. It was like I got employed and said, right, you're a wellbeing advisor. This is our sort of basic idea of what the project is. There you go, run with it. And
the furniture.
I am, yes. So I was here when it was just basically an idea, and we've developed it, and I think it's going from strength to strength.
It has. It's great. It's so nice to be a part of, to know that you're making that difference and being that person that you have such an impact on somebody's life is really incredible.
A year down the line is where we're really seeing the impact. People that are now in jobs or in volunteering, or their lives have just changed so much. We get all the time sort of feedback from people saying, you know, when I first came into the project, everything was dark, and the light at the end of, you know, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. My whole outlook's changed and things that I hadn't considered, and people are thriving, and that's what the whole process is about. For us, a final destination that's positive doesn't necessarily mean somebody's going straight into a job. It's an improvement for that individual of where they want to go towards. So we're all for positive destinations.
Yeah, that kind of clearer perspective sometimes. It's just some people kind of going with no direction, or not knowing what they want or what they need.
Absolutely.
And if that's where they come to the end of working with yourself.
It's a journey of self-discovery, and quite often we can sort of see things from the outside that the individual can't see. We can sort of say, well, you seem to have a natural ability or a strength in this direction. And sometimes it can be, you know, quite surprising that people end up going on a completely different journey from what they'd expected, but it worked really well for them.
Yeah, and it keeps you on your toes as well, I can imagine, with it.
100%.
As well.
Every day is different.
And a learning day.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. It's not a one shoe fits all, and it's really down to that individual of what they need, and that's the most important thing. It's to help them.
Right. Thank you very much for sharing your journey, and yeah, good luck. I'm excited to hear out from what's coming next from you guys.
Hey, thank you so much. If you want to contact us to find out more information, you can do so by contacting our free phone number, which is 0800 731 0444. For Win specifically, we have our email address, win@rtws.org, and our other generic email address is info@rtws.org.
Or you might find myself and Julia out in the community. Come up and say hi. We don't bite. We're always happy to have a chat.
So that's some brilliant information there from the guys at Roots to Work. I think it's just highlighting that importance of, we understand that it is daunting to go out and look for work and get back into work, especially if you've had a period off. And we're not saying in near the guys that they're going to chuck you into work straight away. It's just about helping you look to that in the future. You know, what small steps can we take to eventually build the confidence to get back into work, or even looking for a different line of work as well. Maybe not whether it's to work, but just to start getting the confidence and, you know, maybe changing our situations. But really getting that support from places like Roots to Work is going to really help you. They're going to give you resources and confidence building and all the rest of it, and really kind of start moving you along. But by no means that they're going to push you into a job. You know, there's no way you're going to walk through the doors and leave with a shift the next day.
The thing I really like about listening to the guys were that holistic approach that they seem to kind of take, especially with the Win project that they're rolling out just now. That kind of looking at individual components and barriers to work, not just seeing it as a kind of, as you say, kind of get in the door. What can we do for you? Because people know there's a lot of kind of difficulties and barriers, you know, getting through that door and getting into the workplace. So I really like the sound of the support that they're offering there. So please, if you are looking for that support, you're in South Lanarkshire, please get in touch with them. They gave you the kind of details at the end of the wee recording there. So just a wee mention for those listeners who are in North Lanarkshire. Unfortunately, we kind of spoke, we reached out to Roots to Work, but they just were unable to find the time to be able to give us some information. So that's something that we're hoping to do in the future podcast when maybe things kind of die down there, because as you said, we understand the busyness of the world.
Everyone's life. We had them in a few weeks ago, didn't we? Though we did have them at the team meeting, and you know, a lot of good stuff that they're offering there as well. And again, it's the same sort of ideas as in the south. It's just maybe different programs and stuff as well. But again, you know, we're lucky enough to connect with these people at networking events and just popping along. You know, everyone's really nice and you will be supported. Yeah. So again, just have that confidence to do so. Yeah, that's definitely one of the first things that jumps out to us, is that warmth and welcomeness. And yeah, there's similarities between the two of them, but there are kind of distinct differences with how they operate their services. So yeah, we're feeling this would be really beneficial to get a rundown on the work they do, and hopefully we get that on a later podcast episode for you guys. Yeah, with this episode, it's just about looking at how you can de-stress at work. It's been a very jam-packed episode, so we appreciate you for sticking through it with us. Hopefully, you know, it's been full of useful information, as Lucy said, discussing the theme of stress in the workplace, looking to bring that kind of sense of focus to downtime almost, and with reference with that kind of downtime, what we're going to upload as well, we're going to have a wee minute kind of short of a mindfulness meditation. I know we've given you kind of all the background information, the foundations of it in the different episodes so far. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually release a wee short 5-minute meditation that you can just click on and press when you're wanting to kind of find time for yourself, whether it be in the morning, during the day, or before bed. You can play that mindfulness meditation, and hopefully that's something where you're able to bring that sense of awareness and ground yourself in the present moment when things seem to get a bit busy. So have a look out for that one. Anything to kind of add, Lucy, before we finish things up? No, I think your kind of main takeaways from today is, like we say, if you're noticing stress at work and stress in your life, it really is just about making sure you're stopping for a minute and taking time for you and practicing that self-care. And like Jamie said, this mindfulness will be one way to do it, along with the other ones that we've spoke about. So yeah, just keep looking after yourself, keep an eye on your stress levels, and if you notice you need that break, you take it for yourself, because it will help you in the long run. Yep. Absolutely. Wise words to finish off, Lucy. Thank you so much. So, yep, that's another episode done and dusted. As always, it's been a pleasure, and we'll catch you next time. Bye. Bye.